Welcome to another exciting episode of AP Computer Science. Be sure to have writing utensils handy to take notes. A stack is a linear data structure. All additions to and deletions from a stack occur at the top of the stack. The last item that's pushed onto a stack will be the first item removed. A stack is sometimes referred to as a LIFO, first in, first out. Two of the more important stack operations involve pushing data onto a stack and popping data off the stack. This is a diagram that illustrates the push operation. This diagram illustrates the pop operation. Stacks are very useful for implementing recursion. The local values of a method are placed on a stack each time the method calls itself. When the method returns, the stack is popped to restore the local values for that call. Another example of using a stack structure is when the web browser stores the URLs that are visited. When a new URL is visited, it is placed on a stack. When the back button is used, the stack is popped. The AP subset requires students to know the following methods of java.util.stack. To declare a reference variable for stack, do the following. Here is a short example of how to create, populate, and deconstruct a stack. Notice that the output first prints up to 5, and then comes back down again. The for each loop is only treating the stack like a list, so is not popping any of the data off the stack. Therefore, during the while loop, the stack is not empty and can be used. Also, the for each loop will start at the beginning of the list and go to the end. Because stacks deal with all the data transactions at the top of the stack, the for each will go in the opposite order of the pop method. A queue is a linear data structure that is similar to waiting in line. A queue has both a front and an end. Data must always enter the queue at the end and leave from the front of the line. This type of action can be summarized as a FIFO, first in, first out. A queue is an appropriate data structure when simulating waiting in line. A printer that is a part of a multi-user network usually processes print commands on a FIFO basis. A queue would be used to maintain the order of the print jobs. The AP subset requires students to know the following methods of java.util.queue interface. Void add adds items at the end of the queue. Boolean is empty returns true if the queue has no elements. Object peek returns the top element without removing it. Object remove returns and removes the first element. To declare a reference variable for a queue, do the following. This is an easy way to create a new queue object without having to create a whole new class to implement the queue interface. There are other ways to implement a queue, but this is the only way that AP requires. Here's a short example of how to create, populate, and deconstruct a queue. In this example, both loops print the exact same thing. This is because a queue adds data to the end and takes data from the front. So it's just going from the front to the end when removing data, just like the for each loop.